Evan had been assigned to the Lunari research vessel for almost a week now, and already life on board was far stranger than he had ever imagined. The ship glided silently above the purple clouds of Clethar, a gas giant that shimmered like molten glass in the twin suns' light. Every day, he learned something new about the alien crew, and every day he felt more like a small, curious creature being studied rather than an equal participant in their mission. Sari, the Lunari girl assigned to observe him, moved silently through the ship's corridors, her luminous blue skin almost blending with the soft light of the vessel. Unlike humans, the Lunari had no need for sleep, yet they found it fascinating to monitor human patterns during rest. Sarai had been especially intrigued by Evan, whose body seemed to react to everything around him in ways the Lunari could hardly comprehend. That night, exhaustion caught up with Evan. He had spent the entire day learning to adjust to the ship's artificial gravity, navigating corridors that sometimes shifted without warning, and trying not to disturb the Lunari while they conducted their experiments. Normally, he wore a protective sleep suit, a thin, tight garment that regulated his body temperature, filtered microbes, and ensured that he remained comfortable in the ship's environment. But tonight, the suit felt constricting, and sleep overcame him before he could put it on properly. He collapsed onto the soft, gravity-neutral bed, stretching his arms over his head and closing his eyes. The hum of the ship was comforting, a constant rhythm that promised safety. Outside, Clethar's swirling storms painted the viewports with streaks of violet and gold. Sleep came easily, and for the first time, Evan felt as though he could breathe without the weight of the day pressing down on him. Sari, meanwhile, had arrived to conduct her routine check. She was not supposed to disturb him, but the protective suit was a crucial part of her observations. When she scanned the bed and found Evan without it, her sensors immediately went into alert mode. The readings were strange, unlike anything she had ever seen. His body temperature fluctuated rapidly. His muscles twitched involuntarily. His chest expanded and contracted with a rhythm that seemed almost violent. To the Lunari, whose physiology remained steady under all conditions, this was alarming. Something was clearly wrong. Sari floated closer, her long fingers adjusting the scanning instruments. Her eyes widened as she observed the human lying there. "This cannot be safe," she murmured to herself, her voice trembling slightly. She reached for the emergency alert system, unsure whether she should wake him or call for help. When Evan stirred, his eyes blinking open to the soft blue light, he immediately sensed her panic. "Sari? What's wrong?" His voice was hoarse from sleep, his words slow and careful. You are not wearing the protective suit," she said, her tone tight. "Your physiology readings are unstable." She gestured at the console, where numbers and graphs flickered with unusual peaks and dips. Evan blinked and sat up, running a hand through his messy hair. "I forgot," he admitted. "I was tired. Is it bad?" Sari hesitated. To her, this was more than just a forgotten garment. It was a potential biological disaster. "I do not know," she admitted. "Humans should not fluctuate like this. You move too much while at rest." Evan chuckled softly, a sound that startled her. "That's just how humans sleep. Our bodies do things while we dream. Muscles twitch, temperature rises, heart beats faster. It's normal." Her sensors beeped and twitched, but her curiosity outweighed her fear. "Normal? For humans?" she asked. Her words were slow, deliberate. This instability is your natural state?" Evan nodded, stretching his arms. "Yeah, our bodies are always changing, adapting. We might look fragile, but we're surprisingly strong." Sari floated closer, scanning him again, her eyes glowing faintly. "Fascinating," she whispered. I must study this more. Over the next few hours, she watched him carefully. Every small movement, every breath, every twitch of his muscles fascinated her. She noticed how his body adapted to the changing temperature of the room, how his heart rate responded to noises outside, how his fingers flexed even when he was still. To the Lunari, humans were a puzzle of unpredictability. To Sarii, Evan was the most interesting specimen she had ever observed. By morning, Evan had grown used to her presence. He moved with careful humor, making small gestures to show her that he was fine. "See? Nothing exploded," he said, holding up his hands. "I survive without the suit sometimes." Sarii tilted her head. "You survive and thrive, even without your protective covering?" Evan nodded. "Yeah. Humans are built for survival. We can handle things that might seem impossible." That day, they began a series of controlled experiments. Sarii monitored Evan while he performed simple tasks, lifting small weights, running in place in the gravity chamber, stretching, and even laughing at his own clumsy movements. Each time, she noted the changes in his body with growing fascination. Unlike the steady Lunari physiology, which barely fluctuated under any condition, Evan's body responded dynamically to everything. When Evan tripped over a small panel during one of the exercises, Sarii gasped. He laughed, picking himself up easily. "See? Not fragile," he said. "Humans heal fast, adapt fast, and learn from mistakes. That's why we survive in harsh conditions." Sarii's eyes glowed brighter. "Adaptation, resilience, determination," she muttered. "Perhaps humans are stronger than we assumed." That evening, Evan and Sarii sat by the viewport, watching Clithar's storms swirl below them. The twin suns dipped behind the clouds, casting long shadows across the deck. "You know," Evan said thoughtfully, "we humans might seem weak or strange at first glance, but we're meant to handle the unexpected. Our strength isn't just in muscles, it's in how we think, how we react, how we refuse to give up." Sarii watched him quietly. Her sensors recorded the rise and fall of his breathing, the twitch of his fingers, the steady beat of his heart. She realized that the readings were more than just numbers. They were proof of something deeper. Humans were not only biologically dynamic, they were resilient, unpredictable, and endlessly adaptable. As night fell, Evan prepared for sleep again. This time, he remembered the suit, though he left it slightly loose. Sarii floated beside him, her expression one of cautious curiosity. "I will continue monitoring you," she said softly. "Even small movements are valuable." Evan smiled. "Good, but don't worry, I'll try not to scare you this time." She tilted her head, a gesture that almost seemed like a smile. "You already have," she admitted, "but it is fascinating." The ship hummed quietly, drifting over the stormy surface of Clithar. Outside, the twin suns disappeared behind clouds of swirling violet gas. Inside, a human and an alien sat side by side, sharing an unspoken understanding. One had come to study the other, but both were learning in ways neither had expected. Evan's body relaxed as he drifted into sleep, and Sarii's sensors continued to record every subtle movement. For the Lunari, humans had always been unpredictable. For Sarii, this unpredictability was no longer something to fear. It was a strength, a marvel, and perhaps the key to understanding why the universe should never underestimate humanity. When Evan stirred in the night, Sarii barely moved. She watched silently, her fascination growing with each twitch of his fingers and rise of his chest. The human body, she realized, was not fragile. It was alive, dynamic, and capable of surviving circumstances that no Lunari could endure. And in that moment, she knew she would spend every day learning from him, observing him, and perhaps even protecting him if the need arose. As Clythar's storms raged below, the first night of true observation ended. For Evan, it was just sleep. For Sari, it was the beginning of a revelation. Humanity was strange, unpredictable, and fragile only in appearance. But within that fragile exterior lay a core of resilience, determination, and strength that even the most advanced alien species could scarcely comprehend. And she was determined to understand it all. The morning light filtered through Clythar's thick clouds, casting a soft violet glow across the deck. Evan stretched and sat up on his bed, the protective sleep suit still loose from the night before. Sari hovered nearby, her luminous eyes flicking over his body as she adjusted her scanning instruments. Today would be different. Today she wanted to see not just the ordinary habits of a human, but how he reacted to the unpredictable, the dangerous, and the unknown. Evan noticed her curiosity and smiled. "What is it this time?" he asked. Sari hesitated, then said, "We will conduct tests in conditions similar to sudden turbulence and extreme movement. Your adaptation will be observed." Evan raised an eyebrow but nodded. "All right, lead the way." The ship's gravity chamber was vast, a room that simulated different environments for the crew to train in. Lunari researchers often used it to test strength, endurance, and precision, but today it would also serve to reveal how a human could survive in conditions far beyond ordinary limits. Evan entered cautiously, his body tense but ready. Sari floated close, her sensors trained on him. The first simulation was simple, a sudden increase in gravity. The chamber's floor tilted, shifting the weight Evan had to carry. Most Lunari would barely notice the change. Their bodies adapted instantly without strain. Evan, however, had to plant his feet firmly, adjusting his balance. He stumbled slightly, but within moments he found his rhythm. Sari's eyes widened as she recorded his movements. "Your stability is remarkable. You adjust instinctively." Evan chuckled. "We humans have to. Nature doesn't give us steady floors or perfect conditions. Adapt or fall, literally." Next came the turbulence test. Panels in the chamber moved suddenly, simulating shifting terrain. Evan ducked under a swinging arm, leaped over a low barrier, and rolled to absorb a sudden jolt. His muscles tensed and released in perfect timing, his body instinctively compensating for every unexpected change. Sari observed, fascinated. "You respond with calculation and instinct," she murmured. "Not like Lunari. We respond only with energy flow. You adapt differently." Evan grinned. "Different can be better sometimes." After the turbulence test, the chamber increased temperature and humidity to simulate Clythar's storms. The air became thick and heavy, almost suffocating. Lunari would barely feel discomfort, but for Evan, it was a challenge. Sweat began to bead on his forehead, and his muscles ached slightly. Yet he pressed forward, continuing the exercises Sari set before him. She could see the determination in his eyes, the way he pushed through the strain without complaint. It was not just his body adapting, it was his mind, his willpower. Lunari were strong, yes, but Evan's resilience was something else entirely, something she had never observed in any species. By afternoon, they paused for a break. Evan sat against the chamber wall, breathing heavily, but smiling. Sari floated close, her glowing eyes softening. "Your endurance is extraordinary. Humans are more resilient than I imagined." Evan wiped the sweat from his brow. "We survive because we have to. We face danger every day, in small ways or big ways. And we don't stop just because it's hard." Sari tilted her head, processing this. "Your determination is part of your biology?" Evan laughed. "Part biology, part stubbornness. We never like giving up." The next exercise was one Sari had designed herself. She created a simulated emergency. A section of the ship was damaged, with heavy panels and equipment threatening to collapse. Normally, Lunari could manipulate energy to stabilize the area, but humans could not. Evan would have to rely on his strength, instinct, and quick thinking. As the simulation began, a panel fell, pinning a small robot to the floor. Sari watched tensely as Evan dashed forward, lifting the weight with a combination of strength and leverage. His muscles tensed, veins visible even through his loose suit, yet he did not hesitate. He pushed, shifted, and finally freed the robot, rolling to safety as another panel fell nearby. Sari exhaled a sound that was almost like relief. You think, act, adapt, all at once. Humans are remarkable. Evan shrugged, catching his breath. I'm just doing what anyone would do. No, Sari said quietly. Not anyone. You are exceptional. By evening, Evan and Sari returned to the observation deck. The ship floated above Clithar's violent storms, the clouds swirling in shades of violet, gold, and deep indigo. The twin suns dipped behind the horizon, leaving the sky dark except for the occasional flash of lightning from the storms below. Sari studied Evan carefully. Your body is dynamic. Your mind is flexible. Your spirit endures more than I imagined. I underestimated humans. Evan smiled faintly. Most do at first. We seem weak or strange, but we survive. That's the point. Suddenly the ship shuddered. A warning light flashed. An incoming solar flare had disrupted the ship's shields. Lunari crew members activated emergency protocols, but the energy spike weakened their bodies temporarily. The bridge was in chaos. Evan's instincts kicked in. He grabbed a nearby harness and bolted toward the control room. Sari followed, her sensors recording every movement. Panels sparked, machinery hummed dangerously, but Evan did not hesitate. He pushed through doors, lifted fallen equipment, and helped stabilize controls the Lunari could not manage in their weakened state. Sari floated close, astonished. She had seen human resilience before, but never under such pressure. His body moved with speed and precision, every decision calculated yet instinctive. Where Lunari relied on energy flow and precision, humans relied on unpredictability, adaptability, and sheer will. After what seemed like hours, but was only minutes, the crisis passed. The solar flare moved on, the shield stabilized, and the ship hummed quietly again. Evan collapsed in a chair, breathing heavily, while Sari hovered nearby, her glow dim but steady. You saved the ship, she said quietly. When our bodies could not function properly, you acted. You adapted. Humans are extraordinary. Evan smiled weakly. We just keep going. It's what we do. Sari studied him silently, her mind processing everything she had observed. For the first time, she understood that human fragility was only skin deep. Within that fragile exterior lay determination, instinct, and resilience that could overcome nearly anything. The following days passed quickly. Sari continued her observations, but now she also began learning from Evan. He taught her small human exercises, explained how their bodies worked, and shared stories of human survival and ingenuity. She noticed how his laughter, determination, and adaptability influenced her own perception of life. Lunari were skilled, calm, and precise, but humans thrived in chaos. Humans improvised, endured, and adapted in ways the Lunari could not fully comprehend. One evening, as they watched Clithar's storms from the observation deck, Evan spoke softly. You know, you Lunari are amazing. You never tire, you don't need sleep, and your bodies are perfect for your world. But humans, we have something different. We make mistakes, we fall, we get hurt, but we never give up, and somehow that makes us strong. Ceri's glowing eyes reflected the storm below. I understand now. Humans are not fragile. They endure, adapt, survive, and teach those around them. You are remarkable. Evan laughed softly. Glad you finally noticed. For the first time, Ceri felt something close to admiration, not just scientific curiosity, but deep respect for the human species. She realized that humanity's true power was not in their speed, strength, or technology, but in their spirit, their ability to endure, to adapt, and to thrive in the face of impossible odds. As night settled over the ship, Evan prepared for sleep again, this time with the protective suit properly fitted. Ceri hovered nearby, recording subtle movements, monitoring his heart rate and observing his breathing. Yet she did not feel fear or alarm this time. She felt curiosity, respect, and a strange sense of connection. Evan's eyes closed, and he drifted into sleep, muscles relaxing, breathing steady. Outside, Clithar's storms raged, but the ship floated safely above the chaos. Inside, a human slept, unaware of the lasting impression he had made on an alien observer. For Ceri, it was the beginning of a new understanding. Humans were dynamic, unpredictable, and seemingly fragile. But within that exterior lay endurance, strength, and ingenuity that no Lunari could rival. Humanity was a force to be respected, studied, and perhaps even admired. And as the twin suns dipped below Clithar's horizon, she silently vowed to continue learning from him, observing him, and understanding the marvel that was the human spirit. For in that fragile, dynamic body lay a power that could endure storms, adapt to any challenge, and survive where others would falter. The storm raged, the ship hummed, and a human slept. But in his quiet, unconscious presence, he had already proven that humanity's strength was not only real, it was extraordinary.